Amanda Blanc, the chief executive of insurance company Aviva, has been in the news of late. She's revealed that no white males can be recruited to senior posts without her say-so under new diversity, equity and inclusion guidance. Alka Sehgal-Cuthbert is director of campaign group Don't Divide Us. She has written about this and joins me now. Alka, welcome to the show. Do you want to give us your initial thoughts on this? When you first heard about this policy, what did you make of it?
I was horrified. I was really quite horrified. Recently, we've seen on our streets the kind of logic of this kind of identity politics played out in terms of decolonisation. And I think in the hands of a chief executive like Amanda Blanc, we see what this same ideology, how this plays out in the workforce. Which is, I mean, she's saying you don't need to read between any lines. She's very explicit. It's not you're a problem because of if you say anything wrong or if you speak incorrectly or you're rude. You are a problem if you are white and if you are male. You're such, your very existence is such that you merit another kind of hoop to jump through. I can't see how that's not discrimination. I can't see how that doesn't go against the Equality Act.
Presumably, Amanda Blanc or people who agree with this kind of approach would argue that they are effectively providing a remedy for past discrimination. As Ibram X. Kendi writes, the only remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination. What do you make of that idea?
It's nonsensical. The past discrimination is past. If you want to look at current discrimination, that's a different thing altogether. Let's look at it. Let's see the evidence. Let's have some proper scrutiny for any where there is discrimination. And if there is discrimination in a workplace, in a company like Aviva, which, to be honest, I would start off from a fairly sceptical position because, our society has moved on. There are now HR practices in every major company that would make it difficult to discriminate. I'm not saying it's impossible, but fine. I'm not saying don't do anything about it, but you do something. How is Amanda Blanc having a final say-so on applicants who are male and white going to help anybody facing discrimination in the workplace? It's a non sequitur. This is not about that. It's about imposing a new set of beliefs, really.
I mean, there are some activists who would say that the idea of a meritocracy is in itself a racist idea. What kind of message do you think that sends to people of colour?
Well, look, meritocracy on a social level, is limited, right? Depends on major macro level economics and a whole host of things. But meritocracy within an individual institution or an individual organisation is possible, is much more possible than, in society at large. And so if this idea that, you need the protection of EDI beliefs and everybody acting according to EDI policies to get on if you're not white is frankly patronising. It's patronising for non-white people. And it's also authoritarian for all of us, really. I mean, it's really what it's saying is that, if you disagree, shut up, because if you speak out, against this, this is good, no question, no criticism allowed. So if you're not for this, then you can only be not good.
But Alka,
it's a horrible trap.
Do you accept, though, that a lot of these kinds of policies are well-intentioned, that they're coming from a good place?
Andrew, maybe a year ago I would have said yes. And I'm not saying everybody that supports this is conspiratorial or is conniving or, sort of bad intentioned. But it is becoming clearer and clearer as time goes on. We see so many people, this isn't just, my political belief versus theirs. This is a whole swathe of ordinary employees that don't necessarily get onto the news of the media, who are actually being discriminated against and facing quite horrible practices in their workplaces every day because they fall foul of this, undemocratically imposed new ideology and set of beliefs. So I'm finding it more and more difficult to give good faith to that argument. I would have done, like I said, I would have done a year ago. less inclined to that now.
But a lot of the activists will say, and again, I'm playing devil's advocate here because I think it's important, that a lot of the people who implement these ideas would say, well, you know, you, Alka, you've said on my show before, you have experienced racism yourself. And that all these people are saying is that they're trying to address racism. It's just that their belief is that racism is something that is deeply embedded and structural. And therefore, the only way you can address it is with DEI policies.
Well, I think you need to look very carefully at and we need to think a bit harder about what DEI is and what it represents, right? Yes, I have suffered racism in the past, but on an individual level, a philosophical individual level, I have not let that define me. Other people may choose to respond in a different way. That's on that level, it's an individual choice. But if the kind of everyday multicultural ethos and the attempts to combat racism that most of us believe in, that we've had in place for the best part of the post-war period, if they're to work, and they have worked, generally they've been quite successful, we have made progress, then there are important preconditions. And three of those preconditions are that freedom of speech is protected, that none of the public institutions who want to support celebrating different cultures and trying to make non-white people or minorities feel welcome, that none of those bodies enforce it or impose it upon individuals. And the third one is that, you know, they need to be democratically accountable. And you can see, you know, all three of those conditions are really weak today, if they exist at all in some places. Now, in that context, you have to look at, you know, are DEI policies going to help anybody? Who are they helping? You know, they're not helping anybody who is an ordinary worker, black or white or brown, who may be suffering discrimination, and they will find themselves in a workplace. Just think about it. If I was unsure, I think, is that person being racist? Am I being discriminated against? If I were in a workplace, I would find it really difficult to speak out, because as soon as I speak out, I will be put in a box as a victim. And I will kind of lose control over my own narrative, over my own sense of, you know, that's going to happen because all the policies are in place. So there's no space for good faith conversation for people to address problems where they may exist. That's why it's so, you know, it feels such a kind of choking culture when you're in it. And that, you know, I can't see how anything good can come out of that.
Well, Alka Sehgal-Cuthbert, thank you so much for joining us tonight on the show. Really appreciate it. So I should say that Alka is the director of Don't Divide Us, which is a group is an anti-racist group in the traditional sense of the word, trying to resolve some of these issues and some of the divisions that are caused by these kind of DEI policies. So check them out at Don't Divide Us Now on Twitter.